President Trump is now lashing out at his Fed chair again, splitting with his billionaire Doge guru Elon Musk over his massive spending bill. He's dropping a new set of steel tariffs as well as aluminum tariffs and setting another trade talk deadline. That is the backdrop as the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick gets ready to testify on Capitol Hill any moment. NBC News senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell is joining us from Washington. NBC's senior business correspondent Christine Romans here in New York. And also with us, University of Michigan economics and public policy professor Justin Wolfers. Kelly, Secretary Lutnick is now going to be in front of the Senate to talk budget, but there's a lot of fodder out there for him to respond to. Is the White House struggling to control the narrative?
Well, they wouldn't see it that way, but certainly the opportunity for Secretary Lutnick to be before members of Congress, the Senate and the House in successive hearings is a chance for lawmakers, especially on the Democratic side, to look at some of the areas where they think that this administration has not followed the law and has put the economy in turmoil. And so for Secretary Lutnick, he is there to, as a cabinet secretary, they regularly do these kinds of briefings. So the terms can be wide and varied in terms of the types of topics. And clearly, he has been at the forefront of the president's negotiations with respect to trade and tariffs. He is certainly talking up the economy in terms of the factors of job creation and price controls and price reductions and inflation and so forth. So it will be fertile ground for the administration to lay out its points, and for particularly Democrats who take issue with things like how the administration has taken congressionally funded projects, employment, et cetera, and pulled that out unilaterally. And that is an area for fight. For the president, of course, he is trying to talk about how conditions have improved and trying to put more pressure on the Fed share and the dynamics within the economy to get business leaders in the United States to reinvest or to expand their investments in manufacturing domestically, to try to get the sectors to get on board. All of that happening simultaneously. It has been a hectic period. And for Lutnick, who will be testifying before the panel today and tomorrow, this is a high stakes moment for him in how he delivers the message and if he is in lockstep with the president. As we know, President Trump, in the power of relationship, likes that to be exactly on line.
And we're looking at live pictures from inside that hearing room right now. It looks like some opening statements are being made. We'll be monitoring throughout. Lutnick, Christine, is sure to be getting lots of questions about the tariffs. He's been sort of the administration's tariff cheerleader on all things tariffs. I just have to wonder, do businesses believe anything he says or any administration official at this point?
I mean, what they want to know is there progress on these deals? Which deals is there progress? What happens on July 9th? What happens with the UK deal that is really a framework, right? What happens with the EU? We heard from the U.S. Trade Representative a readout of meetings in Paris over an EU deal that seemed optimistic. So that seems like a warming situation, a cooling situation is the China deal. So for businesses, what they want to know is what will the prices that are coming across the border be next month? They don't know that. And so that's what I think is going to be really front and center here in these hearings.
We do know that the higher steel and aluminum tariff rates are now in effect.
That's right.
There was one notable exclusion, and that is the UK, although they supply next to nothing in this category when it comes to U.S. imports. So why do you think the White House pointed the UK out as the one exception?
That's the only sort of framework deal we have on the table here. So I think that is part of the president's negotiating ability, saying, look, if you don't want steel and aluminum tariffs to be 50% or higher, then come and talk to us about all these other things, the big picture with your country's trade deal. There are still a lot of things to work out with the UK, by the way. That was the first deal, was very heralded, right? But it isn't really kind of inked yet. And then, you know, the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So we'll watch to see what happens. There are a lot of deals to be done, Anna. July 9th is the end of that so-called pause on the Liberation Day tariffs, country by country tariffs. Still an awful lot of work to do and a lot of uncertainty. In normal times, it takes years to do these trade deals. I mean, you just look at the snarls with the China deal right now, and there are so many different levers. You push here, you pull here. You know, it's a very complicated process.
And everything is so integrated in our world economy. Justin, Canada is the biggest supplier of U.S. steel and aluminum, but a Canadian industry group says that these tariffs, again, up to 50% today, they make trade with the U.S. unviable, and they may turn to Europe instead. If Canada turns away, what are the consequences here at home? Can the U.S. steel and aluminum industries make up the difference?
Not easily. So, look, here's how it works. The president's talking a lot about those who produce steel. It's several thousand workers. We know a lot of them are in Pittsburgh and so on. But just as important is those who use steel. And I'm coming to you from just outside Detroit. And when we make cars here, we use a lot of steel. So what's going to happen is the U.S. makes less steel than we need. And so if you're an automaker, you're going to say to your steel guys, hey, I need some steel. And they're going to say, well, your next best option is to buy from overseas. And that price just went up 50%. So I'm going to jack up my price on you by 50%. So all of a sudden now you have this input, which is tremendously important, not just through auto manufacturing, but through vast tracts of manufacturing. If you're a chemicals manufacturer, you use this. Just about every part of manufacturing uses steel. And I'm glad you're showing what a steel plant looks like right now, because the thing you'll notice is there's no people inside it. It's all just machines. And so the group that gets helped is a very small group of people. The group that gets hurt, much, much larger. And overall, the president is going to end up costing jobs in the very sector he's trying to help, which is manufacturing.
As everybody tries to navigate what the future could look like with all of these new tariffs, Christine, we do have at least a sense of the steel tariffs, because President Trump implemented higher tariffs on steel in his first term. What happened then?
Well, they created maybe 1,000 jobs, so there were some new jobs added. But then the downstream, as Justin was saying, the professor was saying, the downstream effects were the businesses that use steel were less efficient, and there were actually job loss and higher costs there. So again, that was protecting or advancing one small part of the economic pie to the detriment of a much larger piece here. But I think the president learned some things from that first go around, because there were some exemptions. He doesn't think those steel tariffs were high enough in 2018. He thinks that these companies and countries get a workaround when it's just 25%. A 25% tariff, pay that tariff, it's still cheaper to get imported steel than it is U.S. steel in some cases, right? American steel. So the president, that's why he's jacking up those tariffs. He wants to give a better advantage to American steel workers and American steel producers. But we know from history that there will be costs to pay for that for the people who use steel in the U.S.
Yeah, and so people who use steel, let's talk about the impact on consumers, because we buy a lot of things that require steel or aluminum to make. Obviously, anything that comes in a can will be affected. Justin, what else?
So there's actually just been a very interesting research paper came out. We're going to the economics literature about the 2002 Bush steel tariff. So we really have seen this movie before, and it's turned out to be a horror film each and every time. So what happened in 2002 was Bush jacked up the steel tariffs. Clinton had refused. Bush said he would do it. That raised costs for a lot of American businesses. And then 3 years later, he gave up, put the steel tariffs back down. But the effect on the factories that use steel turned out to be permanent. So they found higher costs. They couldn't make do, so they shut down. The tariffs disappear, you might think there's a profit opportunity, but it's so expensive and takes so much time and so much effort to rebuild a new factory that our steel-consuming manufacturing industries stayed down for a decade after the Bush steel tariffs.
Kelly, can we talk about the trade talks, some high-level negotiations with the EU today? Both sides say it was constructive. The White House has pushed countries to come up with their best offer by today. Is the administration now second-guessing that July 9th deadline?
Well, there's certainly a desire to put some fire under the feet of trading partners. And certainly this is also another way to keep the pressure on by the U.S. Trade Representative sending a letter to the different trading partners that the United States is trying to engage with to say sort of a best and final, give us your best package by today, trying to get a sense of where these talks are. Part of the challenge from the beginning has been that the president gets a lot of bang politically and a lot of attention around the announcements, and it is the follow-through where it is much more difficult. So we get a framework, as Christine was talking about, with the UK, but we don't know the details. China has proven to be very challenging, with the president using his social media platform to say how much he likes President Xi of China and always will, but finding it difficult to negotiate with him. Kind of a rare acknowledgement from President Trump that it can be harder than just talking about it. And so this is one of the data points along the way of what has been an evolving, the president prefers the word flexible, but an easily changeable set of goals and data points from the administration on what they expect from other countries and how they can work this out. Clearly, the other countries have caught on to the fact that it is obviously changing with frequency, sometimes based on sector, sometimes based on an urgent constituency like steel. And we talked about Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania being an important constituency to the president. And all of those things are giving international partners a little bit more room to watch the horizon before they execute on some of this. The tariffs are costly for everyone in different ways, and certainly the administration is trying to keep the conversation going to demonstrate that there is progress, or at least the appearance of progress.
Well, there's been so much flexibility or whiplash or back and forth that led to that acronym TACO, Trump always chickens out, that some have coined now. Kelly O'Donnell, Christine Romans, Justin Wolfers, thank you all for that conversation.